So say you've made some money or you work remotely and you're getting tired of paying so many taxes in the United States and you're wondering where you could possibly go to save on taxes. So here's some of the top places you could go realistically and save money on taxes. So first, let's start within the United States. Now, within the United States, the easiest transition that you can make to save money on taxes is to go to a state that doesn't have any state income tax. So the states in the United States that have no state income tax, meaning if you live there, you're only paying federal income tax, are Nevada, Wyoming, Tennessee, Florida, New Hampshire. Am I forgetting one of them? Texas. There you go. Now, one of the things to remember is that a lot of these states generate that revenue that they lose out from charging income tax in other ways. For example, high property taxes. So that's something you have to consider, because if you're going to buy property, you may end up averaging out and it's going to cost you the same. One of those states, New Hampshire, has very high property taxes. Out of that whole list, the one with the lowest property taxes, one of the lowest property taxes in the entire country, is Wyoming. Wyoming is a very interesting state, aside from Jackson County. It's very conservative and very much, do things your own way. Nobody's going to bother you. So could be an option for you if you're working remotely. It's very rural, but there's a few decent towns, Casper's out there, whatnot. But anyway, New Hampshire has high property taxes, very cold out there, but it's cold in Wyoming too. Florida has no state income tax. It's kind of a shit show down there. Texas, probably one of the more reasonable options. That's why you see a lot of people like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan going there. So anyway, if you live in one of those states, you only have to worry about your federal income tax, right? Now, what if you have a lot of capital gains? Well, as we discussed in the previous video, if you have not lived in the territory of Puerto Rico, you can move to Puerto Rico and you pay no capital gains tax, meaning you can be an active trader and you're not triggering any capital gains. Or every time you sell the stocks, sell some crypto, you're not triggering capital gains. You'll be still paying federal income tax, but if you have a large savings, a large investment account, you're saving a lot of money there. Where else could you do? Well, aside from those options, you really would have to go international, right? And the first thing you have to remember, hopefully you know that, is that the United States charges tax on income generated worldwide. It's one of the few countries that does that. What does that mean? Well, the average country, if you live somewhere, right, and you move out of the country and you work somewhere else, you don't have to pay income tax in your home country, because you don't have a permanent address there, or temporarily you're out of the country, so you're not paying tax there. United States says we don't care. Now, although there are some forms you can fill out and you don't have to pay full tax, if you're paying tax in another country, nonetheless, it's not something you can escape unless you renounce your U.S. citizenship. So realistically, is that a viable option? Well, renouncing your U.S. citizenship is a very big step and not something that you should take lightly. However, a lot of people have done so. The Bitcoin Cash creator dude, he renounced his U.S. citizenship. So what you would have to do is first, obviously, gain citizenship somewhere else would be a good idea, right? And then you renounce your citizenship. But if you have over $2 million in liquid assets, the U.S. will still charge you an exit tax. Now, I don't know exactly how much that is, but it's there. So it's another thing that you should consider. Maybe you're accumulating money. Maybe you're getting close to that threshold. Well, maybe it's time to renounce it and make these plans before you have $50 million in assets, because then you're going to get hit. Other than that, you may have heard of the Cayman Islands. It's in the Caribbean, okay? And it is, it differs from a lot of places in the Caribbean in which it is relatively safe and affluent. It's a big hub for banking. So if you go there, it's going to be easier to assimilate, to buy a nice house, to feel safe. Realistically, it's very close to the infrastructure that we have here in the United States as far as internet and services and healthcare and other things. And that's why it would be the number one on my list. The main barrier that you're going to have going to the Caribbean, to the Cayman Islands, is wealth. Okay, to gain citizenship over there, you have to have a considerable amount of money. We're talking millions, right? It's a small island. They only let a certain amount of people in there, but you can definitely go in there. They also have some nomad stuff that they're doing, visa stuff specifically for people that are working remotely and kind of in a nomad style. So you can get in there on a visa, establish yourself, and then petition for citizenship. It's going to take a long time. It takes a long time to get citizen in the Cayman, and there's only a few spots, and it's expensive to live there, but it's probably your best option. And you can get citizen there. You can renounce, do what you got to do. St. Kitts and Nevis is another place, another little Caribbean place. That's where the majority of people, if you want a second passport, probably the easiest and most reasonably priced place to get a citizenship. It's a British passport, okay? You can apply. You don't even have to go there. You can either invest $250,000 in property in St. Kitts and Nevis, or you pay a flat fee of like $50,000 to $100,000 per person. You can get their British territory passport, and then you can live anywhere, right? So living there, it's a small Caribbean island. It's not very affluent. It would be a difficult place to live, but it would be okay to vacation, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. But I really like modern infrastructure, and that would kind of bother me. However, a lot of people, that's what they do, okay? They transition to another citizenship, and then they live abroad, bouncing around a lot. And so that would be a very good option. Then with that passport, you could pretty much live anywhere. So now we've settled those. So what if, and when you think about places that are tax-free, you really have to do the research, because a lot of things can seem tax-free on the surface, but then it's really not, or there's other expenses that offset that to make it not worth it. Pure tax havens, really tax-free, are few and far in between, and you can't go without mentioning Monaco, right next to Monte Carlo in the southern of France. It's a principality, completely tax-free. So you're like, okay, so I'll go there. So what are the downsides of Monaco? Well, the real estate is astronomical. It's a lot like Singapore, Acapito. These are very small towns, and it's just packed full of people. So you're talking about, to get a small apartment, say 200 square meters or 500 square feet, whatever, you're going to be spending millions and millions of dollars. They do a little thing in Monaco where they even count square footage on your balcony, your terrace, as being indoor. That's how crazy it is. And it's just, so unless you have serious cash, Monaco may not be an option for you, or you would be going there and you would renting. As far as banking, they say a lot. It's like, oh, well, you need like $500,000 or millions of dollars to start a bank account in Monaco. There's Swiss banks that have branches in Monaco, so that's what I would just go. I would go with Credit Suisse, or one of those other Swiss banks, and then you could just bank out of Monaco. Other than that, probably one that may even be first before I even mention Monaco would be the UAE, Dubai. That would be a more realistic option as far as funds. It's still very expensive. You're talking about prices comparable to central London, New York City, but the visa opportunities, you can go there very quickly. It's very open to tourists and residents, especially if you don't plan on working in Dubai. It's completely tax-free. So all your money can go to rent. It is expensive, again. So downsides of living there. Well, the traffic is crazy. Again, it's worse than Monaco, and their mail infrastructure really needs some work. It's very difficult to get packages over there. Believe it or not, you figure so modern, futuristic city, but try to get a package and you're gonna have a really hard time, and that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Also, there's some issues with censorship. Certain websites and stuff like Skype are blocked there. It is still an Islamic country, even though it's one of the more permissive of the Islamic countries. You're still going to be impacted by that culture, because there's a sheikh that controls the whole UAE or Dubai, whatever, and he makes decisions. It's not a vote, it's not a veto, and it's still based on the Quran and Sharia law to some extent. So that could be an issue, but you can still drink. And I know it sounds crazy to even mention, that they could be, but a lot of the that area, even like Saudi Arabia and other places in the Middle East, you can't even drink alcohol. So for me, the downside of UAE also would just be the future, right? It's not very eco-friendly out there. It's very hot. Resources are going to extinguish. It's kind of built upon oil money, and you don't know 20 years from now or even 30 years from now, what's the situation going to be in Dubai? But if you're looking for adventure and it's, you don't care what's going to happen in decades down the road, Dubai could be a good option. Again, it's one of those things that you could get your citizenship, right, from St. Kitts and Nevis, go chill out in Dubai for a while, have a vacation home, whatever, so that's a good one. Singapore, it's not really super tax-free, but it's a good place if you have a business. There's very low rates, so that could be an option. Another option would be, Switzerland, Italy, believe it or not. Now, Switzerland, people talk about like it's a tax haven, good for banking. It's not, but especially depending on the boroughs and stuff, but Switzerland and Italy have programs in which if you're a investor or someone who wants to move there, you're not a resident, right? You can move to that country and get a tax plan for like a decade in which you pay a flat tax no matter what your income. Now you think, well, how much is flat? It's quite a bit. You're talking about like $100,000 a year. But if you're making $1 million a year, then that's just 10%. If you're making $10 million a year, then that drops down to like 1% of your overall income. So this could be something that you could do. Again, move there temporarily for the 10 years while that is going on. You go from Italy and then you could switch over to Switzerland or something. Again, there's downsides living in both Italy and Switzerland, problems that Italians and Swiss people face. No country is perfect. That's the problem. So you have to measure your expectation. Now, I'll never advise anybody to make a move like that without first going and taking a vacation there, seeing how you like it. It's very expensive again, but Italy's a beautiful place, especially if you live by the sea. Swiss is more, if you like mountains. Again, very, very advanced, modern place to live. And Switzerland has one of the, happier people, like people have their happiness, they feel fulfilled. It's always on the scale, and they never really have a lot of conflicts. So, I don't know, I think about this stuff a lot and I research, where would I go? What would I do? And I kind of bounce around because the more research you do, you realize the issues that each place has, and it's just not perfect, right? No place is perfect. Well, it's like, well, South America, you do here, you go to Uruguay, or you go here. It's like, and what are you going to do over there? What are you going to do? You're a foreigner. You're probably going to have people, have prejudice against you, mistreat you. Same as the issues that are you having in Puerto Rico, which is a territory of the United States, and yet Americans that are going over there to get advantageous tax statuses are, hated, hunted, really, So, grass is not always green on the other side because it's fertilized with bullshit. So take that into account. Also, I was reading about Brock Pierce, and someone had commented about somebody, a woman dying because she fell out of Brock Pierce's balcony. If anybody has any more information on that, please message me, because I've been trying to look and find more info on that, and I couldn't find anything. So I don't know if it's true or not. Family apparently suing maybe for a wrongful death. If anybody has info on that, I would love to cover it, because sometimes this kind of stuff, especially when it happens to billionaires, rich people, can be covered up. So if we can bring that to light, that would be good. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any suggestions of other places that are either tax havens or tax advantageous, please leave them in the comments to let me know where you would move. Thank you guys. As always, buy red and sell green.